Hey there, welcome back to the BOM Process course. We are still in Module 3 talking about the 7 phases. And here in Lesson 3, we're going to dive into the planner phase. This is the first phase of any journey, and it's an important one. Now, truth bomb here is that although the plan you create at the outset will almost certainly be wrong, the act of creating it is an essential first step. And I want you to get that. Chances are the work you do here in this first stage of creating a plan is going to be wrong because as you're in this phase, you don't have a lot of information and you're making some educated guesses and you will update it over time. But the act of doing this will be very valuable for you in the process of building your business. So let's talk about what you're doing in the planner phase. So the goal is to create your basic business plan. Now, you're not trying to get all the details. This is not about creating an in-depth marketing plan or an in-depth strategy plan or sales plan. This is about creating the basic plan for your business. So think of it that way as saying, okay, here are the important structures and here are the important things that I'm going to be doing at a high level in my business. So that's what you're doing during this stage. And you want to finish the planning phase with that in hand so you kind of have your basic outlines ready to go. Now, another important thing to talk about is that the planning at this phase, you're going to plan stuff, some of the things that you'll execute pretty quickly, others that you won't be executing for a significant period of time. But it's important to have a vision of where do I want my business to be in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years. And again, the further you go out, by the way, the more likely it is that you'll be wrong, but having that plan will help you to make sure that everything is moving in the right direction. So the focus during this phase is on market research, planning, and casting a vision. So the market research is a very important thing that a lot of people don't do. It's about spending time researching, understanding your audience so that you really can create the right plan. Then you're going to create a plan and you're going to be casting a vision for where your business is going to be going. Now, the discipline that you need to really embrace or adopt during this phase is embracing that you're a marketer. If you're building an online business, you might think, no, I'm not a marketer. I'm a health coach, or I'm a business coach, or whatever it is that you think you do. That's true, but you also need to understand that you are a marketer. And this is an important thing for you to understand because I hear people say frequently, I don't like the marketing stuff. Well, if you don't like the marketing stuff, you're going to have a really rough time building an online business because ultimately what you're doing is marketing. And so we need to embrace that fact and be ready for it and take ownership and accountability for the fact that you are a marketer. And then the learning, what you're going to be focusing on learning during this phase is marketing fundamentals. Really, as a planner, you're not trying to understand in-depth strategies or tactics or anything like that. You want to understand the fundamental concepts for marketing so that you can understand how all the stuff fits together. Now, the fact that you're in this course is a good first step, but you should also be looking into the online marketing foundations course here in BOMU. Again, totally free, but it will really start to help you set some foundational fundamental concepts related to marketing, and it will help you to understand what you need to be doing to build your business. So those are kind of the goal, the focus, the discipline, and the learning. Now we're going to talk about the milestones. And as we go through the milestones for the different phases, what I want you to understand is this is where it is a checklist. It's a task list. And you don't move to the next phase until you've completed all of these milestones. Now, that's what we're talking about, and so that's what you need to be doing. So let's talk about the milestones. The first thing is you have to find your people, and this is about defining your niche. So you really need to define your ideal customer and who are they, what is the problem they're trying to serve, and get specific. And I'm going to tell you that you're not going to be specific enough, so trust me, when you think you've defined it and you've gone kind of deep enough on a niche, keep going. And once you've done that, you're also going to define the customer journeys. And the point of doing this is that your audience, your potential customers, it's not a single group. you will have what are called customer segments. Some of those are segments because they're people at different phases of a single journey. So for example, potentially, as I talk to my audience, people in each one of these phases of building a business is a different customer segment, potentially at least. So you can see how that's one type of customer segment. But another type of customer segment will be identifying, and the journeys here would be identifying maybe they're running in parallel journeys. To give you a quick example of this to help you understand it, this would be in my legal stuff. For example, people who are building an online course, that's one journey. People who are building a coaching business with nothing else, that's a different journey because they're going to need different legal templates. So I serve them in different ways, but I need to understand that. So you have to find your people, which means defining your niche and then defining the different journeys. Beyond that, you need to identify the Dream 100. Now, if you don't know what the Dream 100 is, it's an important concept that has to do with basically figuring out where are 100 places online that your audience is already congregating. It could be in Facebook groups of, companies or of individual thought leaders. It could be in the Instagram comments and kind of commenting and following certain thought leaders and companies. It could be in hashtags. It could be organizations. It could be professional associations. It could be something as simple as a Reddit board. But you have to identify where your audience is hanging out, because once you've done that, then you can do the market research and kind of take the next step. So the first part here, the first milestone, you have to find your people, define your niche, define the customer journeys, and identify your Dream 100. Now, the next milestones are to conduct market research. And what this means, this is a very important thing that a lot of people miss in the online marketing space. But you need to know what's the problem or problems that your audience faces. And oftentimes, this will be different from between the different segments of your audience, but identify the problem. And so this could be, what benefits are they seeking? What are they looking for to solve their problem? But also, what are the existing alternatives? And by the way, this is not just direct competition, but it's what are other ways that your audience would look to solve this problem that you believe you're going to help them with. And so understanding that and then kind of identifying where those alternatives work well, where they don't, where they fall short, that's an important part of the planning phase. Next, you need to identify their preferred solution delivery. And so again, this is about understanding, number one, do they want a course that is just taught and it's by themselves? Or do they want something guided with interaction? Or do they not even really want information? They just want hands-on helping and one-on-one help. Identifying how they want you to deliver the solution is an important part of your market research. If they don't want a training program and all your solutions are training programs, there's going to be a mismatch and it's not going to work. So you have to really kind of look at that at a deep level. But beyond the problem, you also want to identify their preferred communication channels. So how do they like to hear from you? First of all, is it social media? Is it email? Is it something else? If it's social media, what social media platforms? Understanding those things about your audience is incredibly important because it will help you, once you get to the point of trying to communicate with them, to know how to reach them. So that's an important piece here as well. Now, milestones, let's keep going. You have to do internal work of identifying your expertise and beliefs. So what are your core competencies, your core values, and your core differentiators? I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this. We go into this in the Online Marketing Foundations course, but the central idea is these are identifying things about you that make you different, make you the right person to solve the problem, make you the right solution for your particular audience. So doing that work of figuring out your particular strengths and your particular value proposition is very important. So you have to do this during the planning phase as well. Now, the next step from there is to create your initial plan. So again, you're going to do things like identify your core content medium, your core social media platforms, your core opt-in funnel, your monetization strategy, which means How are you going to make money? What are you going to sell? And then the sales strategy. How are you going to sell this stuff? So you're going to kind of work all of this out after having done this work of identifying, how is it that you're actually going to communicate with them, sell to them, and make money. So these are all things you have to do during the planning phase. Now, what I want you to get, again, you're making educated guesses here, but this is what you're doing during the planning phase. Now, the last piece here is to define, or the last couple pieces here, define metrics. So you need to know what are the important metrics for your content, for your social media, for your opt-ins, for your sales. So in other words, there are some metrics that are going to be pretty important for all of us, like email list size and things like that. But you need to recognize, given what you come up with as your plan, what are the metrics that are most important for you? And so again, your content, if it's a podcast downloads will probably be important. But you might also look at things like first week and first month podcast downloads. Things like that will give you a good sense of metrics to track. For social media, it will depend on the channel. So is it the followers or the likes? It's probably engagement. And you can look at that and really understand that by being specific about your situation. Now, opt-ins, all of us, like I said, email lists and things like that are important. But also sales. What metrics will you define and will be important to your business? Obviously, the total revenue is important, but there are other things based upon what you expect your funnel to be. An example I give here is that if you are going to be selling a coach, like one-on-one coaching or very high-touch coaching programs through sales calls, well, a metric you need to be tracking is how many calls do you book? That is a metric that will be very valuable and very important for you over time. So you'll have to figure out these metrics based upon your particular plan. So again, you can see why this becomes the planning process is important. And then the last thing I want you to do here during the planning is to outline the cost structure. Now, again, you don't have to go into great detail here, but you need to identify, okay, based on my plan, what are my major cost structures going to be? There's going to be some software costs. Do you have to have coaches? Do you have to have other people to help you deliver it? If so, all of that needs to be identified and outlined, and you need to think through, is this something that kind of these are fixed costs, or is it stuff that scales where each additional sale has additional costs? You really do need to do the work to understand what your cost structure looks like so that you have a sense of, hey, what do I have to do to get to profitability? So that's kind of the last. Those are the metrics. Now, what I want you to understand is don't overthink things here. Your plan will be wrong no matter how long you work on it. And so the key really is to create an initial plan and then get into immediate action to test it. No matter how much time you work on this, you're not going to be able to think your way to a perfect plan. And the longer you spend thinking about this, the longer it's going to take you to get to success. So you need to come up with an initial plan and get into action. Now, other than spending time with your audience, the market research piece, that is the only thing here that should really take you a significant period of time. If you were starting from nothing, from zero, other than spending the time to learn, to understand this stuff, the work of creating a plan should take you a couple of weeks at the most. So I want you to dive in, do this work, and then move on to the next phase. But you don't move to the next phase until you've done this work. So that's kind of the big takeaway about the planner phase. So in the next lesson, we're going to learn about the next stage, which is the builder phase. So I will see you there.